You know that thing we do when we picture a friend's face or imagine a warm, sunny beach? We call it our mind's eye. But what if for you that internal screen was just blank? Today, we're going to explore a really fascinating condition that might just change the way you think about your own mind.
All right, let's just jump right in with a little test. And no, seriously, I want you to try this with me. Right now, go ahead, close your eyes, and just try to picture an apple. Really focus. Got it?
Okay, eyes open. Take a look at this scale. Where did you land? Were you a number 1, seeing a super crisp, almost real apple? Maybe a 3 or 4, where it's more of a fuzzy outline, or just the idea of an apple? Or were you a 5, seeing nothing at all, just darkness, knowing you're thinking apple but with no picture attached?
So, if you were staring at that number 5, thinking, yep, that's me, then you might have just stumbled onto something pretty profound about how your mind is wired. And, believe it or not, it has a name.
What you might be experiencing is called aphantasia. It's basically the inability to voluntarily conjure up mental images. The name itself is pretty new, coming about in 2015. It's straight from Greek, a meaning without, and phantasia meaning image. It's literally without image.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just an on or off switch. It's a whole spectrum. On the complete opposite end, you've got hyperphantasia. That's where people see mental images that are so vivid, they're practically photographic. So from blind to photographic, there's this huge, incredible range of human experience.
And you know, even though the name aphantasia sounds super modern, this whole idea, it's not new at all. It's actually a rediscovered secret, in a way. One that was pretty much forgotten for over 100 years.
So the history here is kind of wild. It's this cycle of being discovered, then completely forgotten, and then rediscovered. It all started way back in 1880 with a scientist named Francis Galton. Then, radio silence for decades, until 2015, when a neurologist named Adam Zeman finally gave it a formal name. And then, just a couple years ago, that Apple test we just did blew up on social media, and suddenly, millions of people were having this aha moment. And just listen to this quote from Galton himself back in 1880. It really shows you how floored he was by this. He was absolutely astonished that his brilliant scientific friends had no idea what he was talking about. To them, the very phrase mental imagery sounded like something out of a fantasy novel.
Okay, so fast forward to today. What's the science actually say is going on here? How does having aphantasia really affect someone's day-to-day life? First things first, if you're a 5 on that Apple test, you are definitely not alone. Not by a long shot. A recent study estimated that about 3.9% of us have very low or completely non-existent visual imagery. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 1 out of every 25 people. So what does it actually feel like? Well, researchers have found some really fascinating measurable differences. For one, people with aphantasia often remember their lives in a more factual way, with less vivid sensory detail. And get this, in one study, when they read a scary story, their bodies showed almost no physical fear response. Without the pictures, the emotion just wasn't cranked up. But the weirdest part, most still have visual dreams, because that's an involuntary process. The mind is a strange place.
Okay, this brings us to what might be the biggest question of all. If you can't see things in your head, how on earth can you be creative, especially in a visual field, right?
I mean, seriously, think about it. An animator, a digital artist, a web designer, you'd assume they have to have this incredible mental sketchbook in their head. It seems impossible otherwise, doesn't it? Well, the answer is pretty shocking.
What if I told you that one of the co-founders of Pixar, Pixar, the gold standard of computer animation, has aphantasia?
Or get this, what about the legendary Disney animator who literally drew The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and The Beast? The guy who defined animation for a whole generation also can't picture things in his head.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. We're talking about Ed Catmull from Pixar and Glenn Keane from Disney. Blake Ross, who co-created the Firefox browser, has it too. Even best-selling fantasy author Mark Lawrence. They don't use internal pictures, they use different tools, conceptual thinking, spatial awareness, and real-world references.
And if that doesn't blow your mind, check this out. This is the ultimate twist, and it comes from Ed Catmull himself. At Pixar, he actually did a survey and found that the production managers, the people organizing everything, often had more vivid mental imagery than the actual artists who were creating the characters and worlds.
So all of this just leaves us with one big, final question, doesn't it? Aphantasia really forces us to redefine what we even mean by imagination. If it's not just about seeing pictures in your head,
then what is it? It's about connecting ideas. It's about solving problems. It's about building something new, whether you can see it in your mind or not.